Okay, I think we can probably start. I'm going to introduce our first two speakers. We have Dominic Register and Jamie. I'm drawing a blank. Sorry, Jamie. Jamie, I'll let you take over for now and introduce a little bit the session, who you are, and how we're going to proceed. We also have a couple of case studies that we'll present. We're just waiting for our second case study presenter. She's on her way. But Jamie, if you want to take to start and take us from here, that would be wonderful.
Sure, and I'll actually go ahead and hand it over to Dominic in a moment, but I'm Jamie Zaplatosh-Ehrenberg. I'm Senior Vice President with Children in Nature Network, and we're really excited to be here with you today. You all, IUCN, CEC, and NatureForAll have been such an integral partner in the greening of school grounds and outdoor learning program as we've developed and worked on it over the last 2 years. And we're really grateful for your initial partnership and continued partnership as we really try to fuel, build a movement that has already been existing, but really it's still not happening all over the world. And so at this point, I'll hand it over to my colleague, Dominic, and he will do a little introduction of himself in Salzburg and a bit more background for you all.
Thanks, Jamie. Hi, everybody. My name's Dominic Register. I'm the Director of Education at Salzburg Global Seminar, and we've been partners with Children in Nature Network and the IUCN and the other organizations you saw on that first slide for about 18 months now to try and help catalyze and develop this green school grounds and outdoor learning movement. Salzburg Global Seminar is an independent non-profit organization founded just after the Second World War. We're based in Salzburg in Austria through a series of very happy twists of fate. We're based in that beautiful palace that you can see on the slide on the left-hand side of the screen. So we're able to organize retreat-like programs to bring together diverse groups who are working on common issues, but coming at those issues from different starting points. And what we try to do is build trust and understanding across different groups to help shape new solutions or drive progressive change. Our core mission across all the work that we do is to challenge current and future leaders to shape a better world. And we have a theory of action that you can see across the bottom of the screen, which is bridge divide, so bring diverse groups together by creating conditions of trust and understanding. You create a willingness to expand collaboration, and it is that idea of expanded collaboration or improving the quality of interactions between different actors within an ecosystem, which enables system transformation. If we move on to the next slide, if you don't mind, Jamie. So our work is organized around 5 program areas. So finance and governance, peace and justice, health, arts and culture, and education. And I'm part of the education team here. And if we move on to the next slide. So we established last September within Salzburg Global, we established something called the Salzburg Global Center for Education Transformation. And we have 6 priority areas within the broader transformation space. So we do work in education and emergencies, work in education leadership, on language of instruction, on the power or role of education in building more inclusive futures, a lot of work around social, emotional, and creative skills, and work around regenerative education. And this partnership with Children in Nature Network and IUCN and the other organizations falls under our regenerative education body of work. Although, as you'll see when we get into the other presentations, there's a lot of crossover with social and emotional and some of the others, some of the other areas. The reason we wanted to focus our center on education transformation is because it feels like there is a really compelling case for much more radical, bold education transformation than we have seen in many, many, many years. And there are multiple drivers behind this. So what we have found, and everything we do in partnership with a wide variety of different organizations. And this argument, this thesis is resonating with all of our education partners. So what we had in the sort of last few years of the last decade, of the previous decade, was a significant escalation of long overdue recalibrations of injustices which had shaped the societies in which we all live. So coming out of the US context, there was the Black Lives Matters movement and the way that that gained global traction. Me Too, in many ways analogous, looking to address long-standing societal inequalities or injustices that needed to be addressed in order for societies to move forward. The way in which the climate crisis is escalating and impacting on more and more communities is also shining a light on different kinds of inequality that hadn't been understood properly before. And then obviously sort of experiences globally of the pandemic from 2020 to 2022, and the way in which the pandemic and responses to it shone a light on inequalities both within and between different societies. And education systems as they existed up to that point were in many ways a significant contributor to the status quo, or the reason why these sorts of inequalities had been allowed to develop unchallenged for so many years. And what we have seen, in the last 18 months to 2 years, I would say, is a really significant escalation of interest in driving much more profound change or transformation in education systems in order to create the kind of education experiences and systems that will help build societies that aren't organized around these long-standing historic injustices. I've put 3 links up on that slide. Two really interesting pieces of work, and one that we helped develop. So on the left, you've got a remarkable piece of work by UNESCO called Reimagining Our Futures Together, a new social contract for education that was in many ways a sort of foundational text for this global transformation agenda. The middle piece is by a British NGO called Big Change, and they put together a report called A New Education Story, making a really compelling case for how education transformation needed to be organized around 3 key drivers of shifts in power, shifts in practice, and shifts in purpose of education. And then we got to work with both Big Change and UNESCO and many, many other partners to help develop this statement, making the case for education transformation we published last year, and that UNESCO used feeding into some of their work around the big Transforming Education Summit that took place in New York last September. This summit was the largest global education meeting for more than 40 years, full of potential. I think in many ways, slightly unrealized potential across some of the domains, but I'm certain will be viewed by future historians as a kind of landmark moment in terms of driving and catalyzing education transformation or significant change. The chart on the right-hand side is a piece of analysis done by the Center for Global Development that looked at the keywords that the first 104 countries to submit their transforming agenda or key plans had prioritized. So this piece of analysis was done immediately after the global summit last September. And so what we're going to see over the course of the rest of this session, and this is really the purpose of these opening remarks, is how the Green School Grounds and Outdoor Learning Initiative is unbelievably well aligned to addressing many of these challenges or helping to respond to many of these priorities within education. We're going to talk about the role that Green School Grounds plays in teaching and learning and teacher autonomy. We're going to talk a little bit, I think, about the relationship between outdoor learning and the development of social and emotional skills, which connects very closely with employment skills. We will talk about inclusion and the role of Green School Grounds in building more inclusive school and community spaces, the obvious connection with climate, and several other points as we kind of work through this chart. So what we have done with the consortium, and we started working initially with this sort of alliance back in November 2021, and then we did a sort of call for applications into this global movement. An amazing group came together by February of last year. And over 6 months, we met on a regular basis to kind of interrogate the evidence which exists around green school grounds and develop what we hope will be a compelling case for change or advocacy argument, which is organized around these 5 domains of how, of the kind of value proposition or the benefit. So if you introduce a Green School Grounds initiative in your environment, it is contributing to the solution towards multiple challenges that different communities around the world are grappling with. And we've organized the report and the first piece of advocacy around these 5 key domains of play, health and well-being, climate resilience and biodiversity, community engagement, and education. So I'm going to pass to Jamie now, who's going to talk in more detail about the movement. But thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you all at the beginning of this presentation. I'm really excited for Jamie's contribution and then the case studies that are going to follow.
Thank you, Dominic. And if I could ask everyone who isn't speaking to please mute their microphone, we'd appreciate it. I know that there can be a lot of background noise around us. Thank you so much for that. Again, I'm Jamie Zaplatosh Ehrenberg, and I am the Senior Vice President with Children in Nature Network. And our organization, and many of you are very familiar with Cheryl Charles, one of our co-founders, is really focused on creating equitable access to nature so that children in the natural world can thrive. And much of why we were started was because of this worldwide trend of moving indoors. And I know that you all are quite familiar with this movement and are committed to connecting children to nature in a myriad of ways. And in particular, our focus here is on greening of school grounds and outdoor learning, because it's a place where children are at school and have learning opportunities every day. The Children in Nature Network really has been founded on making the case through peer-reviewed published research and making that publicly available. You can also talk to Cheryl of many different ways that she curated this research at our inception 16 years ago. And now we're in a place where there are over 1,000 peer-reviewed published literature pieces that are supporting the benefits of children connecting to nature for a myriad of reasons. And while Dominic mentioned what some of those connections were, it's not just education, right? It's not just climate, but there's social emotional learning, there's healthy development, even in utero, by mothers having access and being connected to nature. There's just so many benefits of children connecting to nature. And we have these infographics are a way of depicting some of that peer-reviewed published literature in bundles. And that can be found on our website, which you see at the bottom of the screen here, as well as these infographics that we are really encourage you to download and use for your own use in advocating for connecting children to nature where you live. So green schoolyards and outdoor learning, just the potential for what they can be if, and Joaquin, I don't want to necessarily steal or use something you might say but if you say it again, it won't be, I don't think it'll be a loss. You like to say that we have an antidote to so many of the issues that we're seeing on a societal, global, community scale that all can be remedied in part by creating these green spaces that are literally, capturing stormwater, reducing heat. They're just creating more biodiversity on schoolyards and providing spaces for children and community members and educators to connect with nature for all of the host of benefits, all during that school day and on what is usually public property. As Dominic mentioned, and we had a group of 50 people, and some of you are on the call today, and we appreciate all that you did to help to craft what the benefits leaf graphic that you saw, and you'll see again momentarily, really digging into what the barriers are, the benefits, the research, the potential and opportunities for how to build this already existing movement that's been happening around the world into a global movement, so that children have this opportunity to connect to nature every day on their school grounds. We worked together, as Dominic said, over the last year, so in 2022, and we were able to culminate that time together in person in November, where we were at Salzburg, and you should also see familiar IUCN, CEC, and NatureForAll partners in this photo. And we really utilize this time to both grow the movement and help foster the connections in the movement, but also to draft a global action agenda of how we get from where we are today to where we'd like to go. So that vision that you see on the top of the screen here is that every child, especially the most vulnerable, connects meaningful with nature every day. And some of what you're seeing screenshotted here are photos from our the case studies that we were able to hold up and focus as part of this work. This agenda, Brenda, if you don't mind, I'm dropping the link directly into the chat for endorsing the agenda, is out there for review, and especially we ask that you join us as an individual or your organization to take on components of the agenda, which we feel are critical. The larger group, there's about 75 of us plus that help to write this agenda, that the elements that we feel are critical in order, again, for every child to have that meaningful connection to nature every day, starting with their school grounds. Part of what also we were working on is not only getting people together to craft and create all of the resources that we did, but we also were trying to understand what was the landscape around the world of who was already involved in greening of school grounds and outdoor learning. And so this is a snapshot, a screenshot of the 270 respondents that we had to our survey, which is still open. Many of you did take the survey, and some of you even participated in our big kickoff of the Salzburg statement, doing the 24-hour event on September 19th. So thank you for your involvement in that way as well. This movement isn't just about those of us that are talking on the screen right now, or those of us that are part of the case studies. For all of us that are able to create change, whether it's on an individual school level or a policy level, or just encouraging and being ambassadors for the idea of connecting children to nature meaningfully on school grounds and in their communities every day. It's all part of us that, it requires all of us to be involved to really realize that vision. But this is, again, a snapshot of those of us that took the survey to date. The survey is still open, and we are really encouraging people to continue to share that survey out, so we continue to grow what we know, especially as the movement grows. So we use these 5 categories to really curate 13 case studies that you see on the left side here that highlight and exemplify those either components of those that graphic that you saw, or capture all of the benefits that we're talking about. And you can see it again on the right side here as part of the Salzburg statement, which is one of the pieces that we created as part of our work together over the virtual cohort working together this last 12 months. And moving forward, the core partners, and let me see, yes, and additional partners. So I want you to just see, so the top row were the partners that worked with us initially, including International School Grounds Alliance, which we have not called out specifically yet. We all were the initial partners in phase one, and now we've grown to include UNESCO, Learning Through Landscapes, Learning Planet, Alana Foundation, and that there's room for more people to join us and really guide what the day-to-day like kind of direction of the movement will be, so that we can be successful. Again, there's opportunities to endorse the agenda, and also opportunities to get engaged as well. But this is how we'll be focusing our efforts in the near future, in addition to all of the actions that are on the global agenda, which we again invite you to take a look at, hopefully endorse, but also see if any of those actions aligns with your own organization and the purview that you have, that you can pick up and participate in as part of the movement. And I think this is it for me. So now it is my pleasure to, let's see, I'll stop my share, introduce my colleague Joaquin, and he is going to be representing the work that's happening at ANIA, and the case study that we did as part of this project was really focused on the work in Peru, but that's not where he is right now, and that's not where his site or the organization has been focused as a whole. So without any further introduction, Joaquin, thanks for sharing your story with us today.
No, thank you, Jamie. And before I talk, I'll talk like 5 minutes. I just want to say that there's a beautiful video that the Children Nature Network did about our work. It's around 3 minutes. And please, so all the things I will say, you will see it there in images, and that will help a lot. No, I just wanted to start by saying that, of course, we all know that we are living a crisis of values towards life, life, you know, human beings, animal, plants, and all the planet. And we believe that that we were looking for something that what is it that we are missing, that as human beings, what is it we're leaving behind that is making us have more apathy towards life, and we came up with this term called empathy for life, which means the capacity to feel, to think and do for ourselves, others, and nature, being of course others and us part of nature. And empathy for life has 13 elements, which are when we talk about us, it's spirit, emotions, mind, and body. When we're talking about others, it's those who we love, those who we see, and those who we do not see. And among those, it could be a little girl all over on the other side of the world and we don't see, but also the unborn, that there's a study that says that in the next 50,000 years, there will be 6.75 trillion people coming in, 6.7 trillion children coming in this world. And it depends on what we do, the 8 billion that we are here together, on how their lives are going to be. So that's part of others. It's very important. And also our ancestors, those who were with us and now they are in the other world. So, and many cultures, and I personally believe that they guide us through dreams and signs. And then we have the outer circle, which is nature, that is air, water, fungi, plants, animals, and soil and minerals. So that's empathy for life, those all elements. And of course, that takes us to a feeling of oneness. And then the idea is, how do we develop this empathy for life in new generations, which is absolutely necessary for the sustainability of everything. Sometimes I feel we're all, not of course us, but most of actions are like watering the canopy of the tree and not the roots. And that's not going to sustain itself. So we believe that it's key that every kid in the world, children, grow knowing, loving, and therefore they will care for life, you know, in Earth, and that's crucial today. So how do we do it? And then all the studies that Children Nature Network and others have done. And then it's very, like you were talking about, Jamie, no, the antidote is there already. It's regular and positive contact with nature that has all these amazing things that allows new generations to grow what we call empathy for life. And so we just have to spread that. But what else do we need to do to make it better? And I believe we have to make we have to be, because we're anthropocentric, we're used to do things like from an anthropocentric point of view and adult-centric. So I think putting children in contact with nature needs a little adjustment, and we need adults, especially that we live in the Western urban culture, to link ourselves with nature, not as a thing, as an object. You know, when you put in Google Translator and you translate nature, or it says it, you know, I believe it should be a she or an us or a they. It's a living thing. So put us in contact with nature as a being, and with children, them as agents of change. So we put kids as agents of change with nature as Mother Earth, and that magic happens. So, and for that reason, we created ANIA, the organization I ran 28 years ago, long time ago. And with it, our mission is to enable new generations to develop empathy for life through initiatives that bond them with Mother Earth and empower them as agents of change. And to be able to do that, we created a methodology called TINI, Children's Lands, which is a piece of land that is given to them in their home, school, community, and now even natural protected areas that they they have for them to manage. And they have to, and they nurture life and biodiversity with love and care, with Mother Earth as their main guide and ally. And they do things that are good for them, for others, and for nature. Again, being us and others part of nature. So we started promoting this, and it went into schools, and little by little it started picking up. And today, after the COVID, that we have evolved, because the world has changed, we have to change too. Today, the methodology, the TINI methodology has become a means to incorporate Mother Earth as a teacher officially in schools, and that she has and Mother Earth has her own classroom that is a nature outdoor classroom that represents a little piece of the planet that is built with children, with a pattern they do things that are good for them, for others, and nature. So they do things that are good for their mind, emotions, body, those who we see, who they love, who they do not see, and for water, fungi, plants, animals, air, etc. So this becomes the classroom. And then what happens is, 2 more minutes and I'm done. And then the teacher, how it works, the headmaster includes officially Mother Earth as a teacher. But when they hire a teacher, they do a document, but they are not hiring her. They are including her officially for good to be there. And then there's an image of her according to their own culture or cosmovision or original peoples. And of course, kids have to love that image. And then she's socialized by the headmaster with all the school community. Why are they bringing her as a teacher? Because who better than life herself to teach us how to know her, love her, and take care of her, you know, coming out of that anthropocentric point of view. I really, when I think about it, I think why we haven't done before, put Mother Earth there as a teacher, you know, with all the other teachers in the world. She teaches us so much about perseverance and mutualism, cooperation, resilience, empathy, and so much more. All exactly things we need to drive towards a better world. And she's there. Well, okay, going back. And so that's the bringing it Mother Earth as a teacher. And she socialized with the kids and with the teachers, and they talk to her, and it keeps going on. It's really beautiful. And then her classroom is institutionalized as part of the school infrastructure. It's not just a little garden there. No, it has a hierarchy of a classroom. And the headmaster does a document that allows that to happen. And then this place that is built with the kids, and then this is the last part, it's used twofold, by teachers to teach math, language, science, or whatever. But when they do that, the big the difference is that when they use the Mother Earth classroom, teachers have to know if they, for example, are going to teach a 15-minute class of history, how by teaching that, they empower kids to do things that are good for them, others, and the planet or nature. It's always teaching whatever they're going to teach, how that's tied to empower kids to make a difference in their world by doing things that are good for them, others, and nature. So just a little example, there was a math teacher that was trying to teach about logarithms, and she was having a hard time, and then suddenly she realized she could put a picture of a lost dog, you know, a dog, and then she asked the kids to, what can we do for the dog? And then the dog, and they were all like so excited, they woke up and they said, okay, and one of them said, we can build a house for the dog. So the teacher said, okay, let's do it, but we're going to need logarithm to do that. And the kids were, it doesn't matter, let's learn everything, because the ends is to make a better world for that dog, and the means becomes the math. So that's how this Mother Earth classroom helps teachers to put sense of purpose in what they're teaching. And then the other part, which is the most significant, and it's amazing the way we found out this, is that kids have semi-structured time alone in Mother Earth classroom. And I'm going to make an analogy with the library. The library, the kid doesn't have a teacher breathing in their neck. They go in the library, they know the rules, they go, they pick up a book and blah, 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 and they finish and the work is done. Well, the same in this place. It's a place that kids know some little rules that they will construct themselves, and then they go in and they have semi-structured time alone, at least 1 hour a week, and it's on the school schedule. It's formal, it's not extracurricular, it's part of it. And then kids do good things that are good for their emotions, for other people, for water, whatever they feel in this circle of life that I've told you. And they do it barefoot, grounding, take the shoes out. You know, it's part of things that ground us, connect us with Mother Earth. And how did we find out? And I'm almost done now. Because we built we constructed these places in some schools, and then we found teachers were not using it. But they left the time for the kids to go because they were really busy, and that's okay. And we thought, oh, it's not going to work. And then suddenly we started looking at it, and it worked better when the teachers were not there, because we found out that kids are having emotional time with Mother Earth, not only cognitive time. That's okay, but it is key that they have emotional time. So we figured out that when kids were alone, and then we realized, yes, we the adults are the wall that don't allow them to connect in a different way with nature, emotionally, because we're so structured and anthropocentric and adult-centric and blah, blah, blah. I mean, we have good things too, you know, but that was the key finding. And that's what we're pushing forward. And the teachers love it because it's no more work for them, because many times they say, oh, more work for us. We know that. But this is no more work for you. On the contrary, this is going to ease your work. And they get really happy. And of course, many teachers that have moved to cities that came from rural areas, they love this because they have it in their heart. And to finish, I believe the antidote for apathy and environmental degradation is putting children in contact with nature. Children Nature Network and our partners have done an amazing job with that. We know that now. And for us, TINI, our methodology, is like, if we make an analogy with COVID, it's like a Moderna or Pfizer. It's just one more vaccine that is applied, not of course physically, but mentally and emotionally. And of course, there are other solutions that are other like brands that are out there that you guys are doing probably. So now our aim is, I moved to Costa Rica because we're creating here the Global Center of Mother Earth as a teacher, as a place to distribute this, the TINI, our little vaccine all over the world. So the new generations grow with empathy for life. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joaquin. And Juana, it's nice to see you again. Any of you that have questions, please do add them in the chat, because Luis Camargo will be joining us in a moment after our next presenter, and we'll be answering questions from the participants. So please do, any other questions that you have, please do add them to the chat. So it's my pleasure now to introduce Raphael Tollier from Paris. And she and I both have been International School Grounds Alliance Leadership Council members together for years. And it's been really nice to be able to build on the work that International School Grounds Alliance has done with this project. And I'm excited for you all to be introduced to the work that she's leading in Paris.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm Raphaël Thiollier. I'm working for the city of Paris. My exact title is Service Designer on School Architecture, but I'm also leading the Oasis Schoolyard project. So, and we are leading this project in Paris since 2018 now. So we are preparing our sixth generation of schoolyards, transformed schoolyard for this summer. And maybe I can share my screen and show you some pictures of the project and I will try to not be too long, but let me know if I am. There is many things to tell you and to say, but thank you so much because it was really inspiring to hear from Joachim just before. So can you see it? That's okay. Yeah. So you earlier when Jamie was speaking, you saw a picture of one of the Oasis Parisian schoolyard, and this is before the transformation. One of them was transformed and the other wasn't, as you can see. I hope it's obvious which one was transformed, but it's a preliminary school and an elementary one in the 15 arrondissement of Paris. And I usually start with this picture because I think it's really something that is obvious of what we want to. Sorry, I don't know if you see my picture. Yeah, you can. Of what we want to do in Paris. It's really a matter of atmosphere and also a matter of a society issue, because of course the child development won't be the same in the two environment you can see, and in terms of children interaction and in terms of capacity and skills they will develop and have in this environment. So it's really something we want to advocate for in Paris. Children are spending a lot of time in the schoolyard every day. We have to provide them a very interesting environment, way more interesting than what they have today. So, because in Paris we have many schoolyards, about 700, more than 700 schoolyards, from pre-elementary school to middle schools, and children are spending about 3 hours a day in this environment. So, in the beginning, we usually have that kind of schoolyards with no amenities at all. And one of the schoolyard we have transformed with Paris is now looking to that one. So, of course, the activities for the children aren't the same. And we also want to deal with urban heat island effect, and Paris will face of climate change in a very violent way, I think, in the next decade. So we have to act now and to do something to improve the capacity of the city to deal with heat. And also we choose schoolyard to be transformed because there are proximity public equipments, and everybody know where a schoolyard is in Paris. Parisians are living not so far from schoolyards, and we are voting in the school in France, so everybody know where the school is in his neighborhood. So it was really important for us in terms of social cohesion to transform these public equipments and to make them accessible during weekends. Not all our Oasis schoolyard are now accessible, but a lot of them are. And Paris is a very dense city, so we have to create some little island accessible to the public and more green than before. greener than before. The context, very quickly, the Oasis project is part of our climate plan, of the resilience strategy for Paris. And we also had the pleasure, and it was really beneficial for everybody, to be selected in the Urban Innovative Action in the frame of the European Regional Development Fund with the European Commission. And it was really decisive for the Oasis project in Paris to have that fund from Europe and have the opportunity to work with other cities or European cities, but also to have time to build some tools and to have many opportunity with our deliverables to think about the methodology and the way we want to upscale the project in Paris and elsewhere, because we have many contacts with a lot of cities in France. That now every big cities in France are transforming their schoolyard. So I think it's really something that is a current issue for everybody. You have here the goals of the project, and it's also one of the strengths, I think, of the Oasis project and every project that is concerning schoolyard is the fact that it's such urban and social place that you have many co-benefits when you are transforming a schoolyard, because you will have some nature in the city and for the children every day. You will improve their development and well-being. You will make the environment cooler, so more adapted to climate change. And as I said, because we are opening the schoolyard to public, you can involve citizens and have a more shared public space. So it's a win-win-win-win-win situation, I think. And you can,
Rafael,
yes.
Are you able to change the view of your slide so that it's full screen and you don't see the diapositive suivante? Is that an
Okay,
option?
I can try. Sorry.
No,
Yeah,
it's
of
okay.
course.
It's just, I think for some people, it's hard to see the full slide this way.
Yeah, I can understand. Sorry, I think it was just me, but no, it's not. So sorry. Sorry. Is it better? No, it's not. Sorry, it's because I have two screens, so maybe I don't know how to do that. So sorry. Maybe I can be this way. You have just one image, even though you have the. Sorry. Is that okay this way or not?
We'll try this way and see how
Okay. Yeah.
nobody
Sorry.
does anything.
Yeah. Sorry. So you have here the evolution of the project and see the different types of schools. Yeah, we are transforming. One of the most decisive time was the study tour we made. We had the chance to make in Belgium. We went to Belgium in October 2019, and it was really something quite amazing, because we were 50 people, school principals and people from the city of Paris and partners of the project. And it was something very rare for me to see 50 people changing their mind in 3 days, and to see that it was possible to have a more natural schoolyard, and that the children will have many benefit from it, and adults will survive, that we are changing their lives and their professional practices, but they will survive and find a lot of joy in it. So it was really important for the Parisian project, because I think our schoolyard today won't look like where they are if we hadn't had this study tour in Belgium. So I say that we had the European Union support, and it was very important for the project. And maybe to show you some other things, at the beginning of the project, one of the also strengths of the project, I think, is the fact that we are involving children, and we want them to participate to a co-design phase. So they are observing their schoolyard and also understand why it's not a good option to have a lot of concrete ground and no nature at all. And after that, they are choosing some elements they want to have in the schoolyard, and it's really relevant to listen to them because they have ideas that no adult will have, and they have specific needs. So it's important to listen to them. And after that, they are also building some models that you can see, and it's also very important for their development and understanding of what a city is. We are working with architects on that part and landscapers. And at the end, the ideas of the children are confronted to the ideas of the adults of the school, teachers and extracurricular activities professionals, and sometimes parents we are involving. And so the idea is to, at the end, have that kind of map with a lot of images of what we want and a map of the schools. And after that, our technical services are preparing a public procurement to have works, construction works during the summer. And we have a lot of insights and think we want to an ambition for what the schoolyard should look like. And we have a cahier des recommandations, a recommendation booklet that is available in English and in Spanish as well. If you want to look in it, you have many ideas of schoolyard amenities. I will be quicker. You have here some photos, pictures of our schoolyard. And the feedbacks, I said that, but we really can observe a way more interesting way for children to develop themselves and to have motor skills, social skills that are improved. We also have a more peaceful atmosphere for everybody because children are having some interesting activities. They are not bored anymore. There are things to do that are interesting them. They can observe the nature every day on daily basis, and it's something really that matters for them, of course. And we try to develop free play with very low tech also equipments, because sometimes the simpler way is the better. So yeah, the idea is really open the possibilities for them and let them play with little things that will be very interesting for them, and also will help them to have more imaginative games. It's also having also an effect on gender equality, because we have this issue in Paris that our traditional schoolyards are sometimes very used by boys, elder boys, that are using a lot of space, and girls have no space at all. So it's also helping in terms of balance. It's also a place for outdoor learning and discovering new activities, not only natural observation, but also, of course, academics subjects, maths and French, and a lot of things. And it's helping in terms of biodiversity. Our idea is Paris is to have a frame, a green and blue and brown frame within all the city of Paris, and helping insects and birds, and have natural shelters and things like that. So the Oasis Schoolyard are also contributing to that. And children can observe that because they discover new insects and a lot of things. And yeah, I said that it's also cooling the city. And just to finish with that, we have many challenges that are waiting for us. Of course, I say that, but it's really a matter of change, deep change for our teachers, for our professional of extracurricular activities. So we need to support them in the change and to give them tools to understand. There is, of course, the maintenance issue, really important in the everyday life of my colleagues, and so we are trying to involve children in that as well. And yeah, the weekend openings are also it's doing very well in Paris. We have very good experience on that, but we want to continue to open more and more schoolyards. So it's a budgetary issue and also a matter of changing the city in depth. So it's a challenge, but very fascinating and very interesting. And just to really and my hope is that we are now, I hope, creating a new generation in this schoolyards, because the environment that will surround the children every day will have a very great importance in their life, and will change, I think, the way they will be an adult later. So it's really important to think about that every day, what kind of adults we will need later for our planet. And I think helping them to have a strong connection to nature every day will, I'm sure, will be very helpful later.
Thank you, Raphael. And I'll be, trying to help the conversation between all of you, because I'm really amazed and inspired. My name is Luis Camargo. I'm Vice Chair for IUCN Commission on Education and Communication for South America. I'm also founder and director of APEPA Colombia, which is reconnecting children and youth to the earth to accelerate the transition towards sustainable and regenerative cultures. And I've had the pleasure of being in many conversations throughout the last many months, both with Joaquin and Rafael, and it never, ceases to amaze me listening to their stories. And just recapping a little bit of what I heard from both of you, there's a couple of ideas that I want to bring up before I ask some questions and have a conversation. First of all, nature as a teacher. This is something that's evident in both your experiences and examples, how we can build empathy, and we need to build more empathy, not only with humans, but also with nature, creating a sense of belonging and really strengthening our connection with the natural world. How we can create creative learning environments that allow for awe and inspiration in students, in teachers, and in others in the community. Spaces for intergenerational experiences. Rafael was talking how, these spaces and the oases become really good places to meet. And then a question that arises and has arisen is, beyond schoolyards, can this be brought into other natural spaces around the cities, in national parks, in reserves? So there's just to leave it on the side. Also, how greening schoolyards can really create accessible nature and a space for gender equity. So these are two really important things that maybe they feel like for granted normally, but as we create these spaces, really levels the playing field for everybody to have access, and create new generational learning opportunities. And something that I think in my experience has been really challenging is understanding the role of education in connection with the technical aspects of nature-based solutions and other, more technical climate approaches and other things. So I really am amazed at how greening school grounds can create strategies for climate resilience, for cooling within the cities, to generate spaces for health and well-being for children and the whole community. And obviously the added benefit to increasing urban biodiversity and even creating, urban parks, urban corridors where life can thrive, people can learn, and we can all be inspired. So just setting this as a base, I would want to ask both of you, after all these months and this work we've been doing in creating the Learning Global Action Agenda and the Greening School Ground movement, what insights are you drawing from initiatives developed in other countries? And how is that enriching and affecting the work you do that you have shared with us so beautifully? So I want to start with Rafael.
Thank you. I think we were really inspired by this universality of nature need for the children. I think it was something that we really want to advocate in Paris as well, in a very dense and urban context. But one thing what's very important for me is also the liberty right, if I can say that this way, the also fact you can learn with taking risks, which is something very important, for example, in the Scandinavian area and Northern Europe, but also elsewhere, I think. This was something very important because we have a very security approach in Paris, in France, of education. And I think it's not the good way to educate, to let grow children, to put some rules and rules and rules and safety measures every time. So I think this is something we are trying to change in Paris, and it's from abroad, I think, and it's important for us to take that and to try to change things in Paris. I don't know if I'm clear, but this
Yes.
risk
Thank you,
learning approach.
Rafael. And I think risk-averse societies really limit the capacity to learn and to explore and to discover. So that's a great thing. And I love the idea of the universality, because one thing that really resonated for me is seeing how in many cultures, many places around the world, we're all feeling the same need to, bring nature and education together. So Joaquin, what are your thoughts on, on inspirations that you've seen from all these conversations we've had as a community? You're in mute.
No, okay, me. Yeah. No, picking up from Rafael, risk is something kids need to learn. And there's a study, don't quote me on this exactly, but there's a study, for example, a kid that before they learn to walk, they fall more than 1,500 times. And then that's part of build on them, it's resilience. And that has to keep going on. I remember initiatives in the jungle where the kids have the children forest, and there are jaguars walking through their forest, and there are venomous snakes there too, poisonous snakes. But they knew exactly that to respect the place, because you go through the trail, you can go a little out of it that they help build, but they knew that there could be a poisonous snake, and they knew more or less where to find it, so they wouldn't go there. So that's part of respecting life and setting up yourself boundaries. And going exactly to your question, Luis, no, I like I said before, I do believe your work, Luis, your Jamie's work, Children Nature Networks, and many of us, is that the antidote is there. And there are many different ways of applying that antidote. I believe school grounds, school grounds are the best place where, like, you put the vaccine here because maybe it hurts less and it goes to all your body. Well, I think this antidote is if we're gonna do it's like an acupuncture, point is schools, because that's where the kids are, that's where the safest place, and that's where we can build these green places, and that's where we can apply it. So the more diversity of like Moderna, Pfizer, Sinopharm, I'm making an analogy, the better, because we learn from each other, and of course in different places, different things work better. But I think if we all have the same formula, and I think we're doing that, and again, all this research is helping, then we can move forward together. And the other thing I wanted to add to that is, before all of this, indigenous people, and these worldlies, indigenous people all over the world are saying, we're one with everything. We are nature. So including Mother Earth as a teacher, it's not that Joaquin came up with this. It's just hearing something that is being told by these people all over the places, and finally saying, oh yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, here it is. We're going to materialize this and make it happen in schools.
Thank you, Joaquin. And we're definitely nature. If we look at ourselves, even our body composition is composed of more than a million organisms working together to create what we believe we're, an individual. So it's a paradox. I want to shift a little bit and invite everybody to close their eyes, except Joaquin and Rafael. And we'll start with Joaquin. In a minute or maybe two, I want you to describe and draw a picture in everybody's mind that describes and illustrates what for you would be the most enriching green schoolyard you could ever imagine. What's happening, and just be as descriptive and passionate and loving as you can. And then Rafael, you'll go next.
Okay, perfect. I love the question. I see it like a place that has boundaries, that has a portal as an entrance with the name of the place that the kids have given it to it, that is full of colors. I imagine going in through a little path, walking barefooted, doing grounding, and I feel that there's a place full of life. You find flowers for bees and butterflies and hummingbirds. You find trees with fruits and shade and habitat for birds. You find medicinal plants. You find edible plants for us. You find artwork there, signs that kids they have set full of color and again with their art. I find there recyclable materials that are having a second use and that are serving a life. And I see there the kids not just walking in with happiness and enjoying their time there, of relaxing, playing, learning, laughing, talking, discussing, and supporting life from there. But also I see, like I saw a chat there, like a grandma helping, the teachers are engaged, some mother, hopefully some father, that's hard, but sometimes. And I just see that the ecosystem of harmony, color, and life, and there we are. That's how the world should be. It's a little picture of the planet, and then if kids know how to do it, if they know that they can make it happen, then they can transform the world out there.
Thank you, Joaquin. Let's hold that image.
Question. That was good.
Let's hold that image for 1 second and try to think how that represents and can be manifested within your work in each of the places you all live. And Rafael, let's, if this is a great room and we have one big wall with this, landscape that Joaquin just showed us, let's look the other way and see the other picture, the other drawing that you're going to give us.
Yeah, I think they will have something in common, of course. But maybe what I can add from my perspective is also having, if I may say, a playful landscape for children, because I think they are lacking of place to play in a very dense city as Paris and as many other cities, I think. Also having, the possibility for children. What we are trying to create is, in my ideal schoolyard, I think, is a place you can have a diversity of activities, of possibility, place to explore, place to just rest, just to sit and have a small chats and discussion with your friends, having place to hide and be alone or be in a small group, because children are every day experiencing large group for many and many hours. Our adults won't like to have that on such a long time, but children are forced to experience that every day. And so having small places to be in a quiet place, or place to, in another way, other hand, have the possibility to climb or to jump or to do what you want to do with your body, and experience also new motor skills is something important. So I think having also some hills and place to have a view and place to be, I think the really important thing for me is having a diversity possibility of many ways to be yourself and to have a space that is let you express what you have to do and to say to yourself and to the other. And for that, it's also a matter of inclusion, having a place for everybody, despite of what are your capacities, and having this large possibility, I think, offers the good opportunity for everybody to be together, but to also find your own joy and purpose. I don't know if I'm clear.
Thank you, Rafael. And I love it. I invite you to open your eyes if they're still closed, but hold these images and use them as inspiration also to create your own pictures. I think as we create our own pictures of what we wish and what we, imagine and inspires us, we can actually start acting to make it happen. And I love one thing of the two pictures I just saw. One is this incredibly rich environment for creativity where children were actually authors of creating it and learning how to create the world they want to live in. And as Rafael was telling us, also a space where human interaction becomes a key component in function of creating life, happiness, joy, and well-being. So I think those two components need to be together. And I love it. Thank you very much. I'm going to pick one of the questions from the public, actually a couple, and join them. So we're talking about intergenerational and inclusion. And one question asks how, can grandmothers be included in the learning experience and in the process for greening school grounds, and how children, in your experience, can be involved in designing the actual schoolyards like you guys showed us. So who wants to answer this?
Can I share? Rafael, can I? Or if you want, do it, and then I'll...
Go ahead.
And I will, Luis, I have a little big image to show, so may I?
Yes.
Tell me if you can see it. Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just gonna run. I remember I told you about the circle circle of empathy for life, yourself, others, and nature, what you can do, and it's this rich place. And I just wanted to show this image, and then the places, and this is how it was. The kids planet, like you were talking about, and then that's how it's transformed. And of course, the parents, it's really beautiful because especially in Lima, the city of Peru, where where this kind of started, many people came migrated from the rural areas to the urban. And when many of these people were called upon when this started, or when the teachers tried to bring them, again, with example of logarithm, many parents don't know, grandparents don't know how to help. But it was beautiful when this land, when the school ground was going to be put green, and the methodology was going to be implemented, then the mothers start coming, because when they were little, they grew on the fields. And it was again like regenerating their moment. And then grandmothers too came, and they absolutely loved it, because it was a place that they knew. They had the know-how how to treat the land, and they talked to the plants, and they found a bridge where to connect with their kids. And this is another place. It was very little like this, and they transformed it like this, and this is all cement, and they took the cement out, and they transformed this little piece for 250 kids. And they have the place there. And this is another one, just showing really quick for you guys to put that picture in your mind that we were talking about. And then grandparents, and especially grandmothers, I have to say, not so much male, but female, they get very much engaged in this. And this is a place that they help develop too. So I'm just going to come out. But
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joaquin. Rafael, would you like to add something?
Maybe, but I already said that, but the involvement of children in Paris is also about involving them in the co-designing phase, and the fact that they can, their voice matters. It's really important for them to hear that we want to listen from them and have their idea in the center of the. Not every idea is possible, of course. Many of them want to have a swimming pool in the schoolyard, but it's not sometimes possible. But a lot of other ideas are something that we have to take into account in our project, having
Awesome.
a child-focused city.
Great. Thank you very much. Another question that arises, and I see people asking on how to create alliances. How do you engage with other local institutions to expand the classroom, to local parks, and to other areas? I know in the initiative, or one of the initiatives we're involved in, this is the basis of everything, alliances. So I would love to hear how you guys have worked with other institutions and organizations, and how you've involved other areas. And I saw in Joaquin's images corridors between houses in neighborhoods that have been, taken over, to give it a word, by students and community to transform them. So that's one way of doing it. But what other ways have you seen that are key components of your strategies?
You go, Rafael, or I go? I don't. Your turn. If you want.
So maybe what I can say is the fact that in Paris we have the chance to be a big administration and city, and we are also managing municipal parks and a lot of areas in Paris. But now the Oasis project is very interesting because it's also spreading in other parts of the city. For example, in our daycares and kindergartens, we also are transforming the outdoor spaces with the same methodology and ideas. And also we have a project concerning the social housing system, and trying to have some subsidies for this housing to transform their outdoor spaces. So and yes, we are using the parks. We have the chance to be one big organization and administration with many powers, if I can say so, to have a very large impact on the city. It's not a battle that is already won. We still have a lot of challenges, but and also having a strong political support is, of course, very helpful. But we also, one of the allies we need to have is citizens, because of course it's in the earth of the project, and the public services could not function without them. And we also are trying to think differently, also involving them in the maintenance of those spaces. It's not at all usual in France to think that way, but we are trying to change that and to let them have very important role in that part of the project.
Thanks, Rafael. And hearing so many alternatives and ideas, I would like to bring it down into, understanding how in our current planetary predicament, obviously we're living in a very special time in history. And it's a time where I feel we're being tested as a human species. What are we going to do? So what are the 3 most important ideas that each of you think greening school grounds and outdoor education can bring to enable the transition to new ways of inhabiting the planet? This is a small question.
Yeah.
It's a quick answer.
Yes. Well, I don't know, 3, 4, or 2, but I definitely think that the only thing we cannot stop doing is being sure that new generations grow with values and attitudes towards life and nature. I believe the schools again are the most efficient place worked by greening them in all its dimensions to have an impact on positive impact on these children, so they grow up as a new generation that knows, cares, loves, and will care for life on Earth. So one is including putting these outdoor classrooms or however we want to call them, we call them other classrooms, as making them officially part of the school infrastructure. In Latin America, I don't know, Luis, with you, but many times they start the place and then the director changes, or the Ministry of Education changes policies or whatever, and then they destroy that and they build cement or whatever. So it's to ensure that that place that is built with green, it is part of the school infrastructure, and it has the same hierarchy as a classroom. At least it's one special place, you know. That's number one. Number two is that in the schedule, kids have at least for all the research, it's little, but at least 1 hour of semi-structured time alone in this place with the teacher can be outside and they can be monitoring for the risk if they need that, but inside leave the kids alone with Mother Earth so they can do that symbiosis among them that humanity depends on. And thirdly, I will say green schools are a strategy again against apathy, and like I said at the beginning, and environmental degradation overall. I don't see, and I'll finish with this. A little girl one asked me, Joaquin, are the butterflies that I'm feeling my stomach part of biodiversity? And she made me think. And then it's remembering that we're going to change environment if we change the outer environment that is all focused on the tree and the carbon sequestration, let's say, and things around it. But we need to change the inner environment, and without changing the inner environment, the outer environment is not enough. So schools are the places to do this, and this needs to be brought up at a policy level and as a global objective to change things.
Excellent. Thank you, Joaquin. Rafael?
I don't know if I will answer the question well, but what I have in mind is the fact that when we are creating a new schoolyard, in the beginning, we already have fear from teachers and parents and a lot of engineers, and everybody is frightened. And I think it's something we have to struggle against, and also creating these spaces, I hope, will help the future adults to have less fear, to take some risks, and to allow them to have many opportunities, and also to see a space not as a dangerous space, but as a potential opportunity and open space to create, to just grow, to live, to interact with nature. So I think it's something key is really to try to change this way of seeing things, not seeing problems, but see solutions, see the possibility to have a positive impact on things. And nature teaches that. I think that you can still have life everywhere. and so that's it. I think try to change that, having possibility and not only constraints.
Thanks, Rafael. And I love the idea of moving from scarcity to abundance. And this is exactly what you're saying. And the other thing I just wanted to relate is, in the last 6 years, I've been really working on what means to connect deeply, but also that means that I've been researching what disconnects you. And what is really interesting in what you said is that independently of the population I've spoken to and asked the questions, usually what disconnects is fear. And fear is the leading cause of disconnection and the sense of disconnection. And love ultimately is the leading cause of connection. So we should definitely move into a more loving learning environment. And to close everything a little bit, I want to invite, the voice of wisdom, a true friend, a beautiful person, and I think a person that has inspired me, even if she didn't know she did, because I've used work that I only decades after learned she was one of the ones that built it, in terms of environmental education and experiential learning in connection to nature. So I want to invite Cheryl Charles to talk a little bit about her perception. Cheryl is not only co-founder of the Children and Nature Network, she's also the lead on the NatureForAll movement and campaign that IUCN has led. And these are only two of so many other inspiring roles and representations Cheryl brings. So Cheryl, I really like you. Like I said, I really like to invite you as, this voice of wisdom, of history, of time. You've seen things emerge. You've been part of it, and would love to hear you, telling us what you think of what you've heard of the greening schoolyards movement, and maybe, if there's a recommendation we can do to decision makers, public officials, principals, and teachers, what would that recommendation be?
Thank you. Thank you, Luis. And thank you to everybody who has participated in this. It's exciting to see how many of you are here, and we've recorded it, so it'll be made more widely available afterwards. Luis acknowledged my role with the Children and Nature Network, as did Jamie. So thank you both. With respect to IUCN, and since so many of you are a part of that community on this call, I would say that the IUCN has an important role with this movement worldwide, and we're really excited to be able to be partners in this important project to green school grounds for all the good reasons. You all today have approached so many of the benefits. So a couple of thoughts come to mind. I think everyone was so eloquent. I was taking notes on these beautiful turns of phrase and I'll start with one of Joaquin's favorite and most important words, and that's empathy, and the power of our connection with nature to have us connect respectfully and lovingly with all of life. The potential for this movement is huge, and the time really is now. We have, for all the reasons people have talked about, going back to some of Dominique's opening comments, there are so many forces in the world today that are designed to fragment us, and yet this is a healing movement. It's a nurturing movement, and it's accessible to everyone. So I really do think that we are at a critically exciting and important time to have this, to visualize it as Luis has helped us do. Think about these green school grounds and places and spaces in the neighborhoods. It's not just about the physical school buildings that we're talking about, but the places and spaces throughout the world that can be connected, and children will thrive, their teachers and families, whole communities will thrive as people have the opportunity to engage in them. And it brings all the benefits we're talking about, the social and emotional, the academic, the physical, and also helps to heal the planet. The powerful role of greening school grounds in our efforts to mitigate climate change. It's all incredibly helpful and healthy. And again, the time is right. I want each of you here to participate how you can. Sign the declaration, use the resources that are being made available to you, and know that no matter what, you're a part of this community, whether you directly get actively involved with this organism that's growing, you need not, but know that what you're doing is important. If you are an active member of the community, all the better. I see we're at closing, so thank you, everyone. This will be made available afterwards. Luis, I'll take it back to you.
Thank you, Cheryl. And it's always inspiring to hear you. Let me say that. And thank to all of you for being here and staying for this long hour listen to these stories, and hopefully there will be many more spaces to listen to more stories and have more conversations. So as Cheryl said, please join the movement, sign, the action plan, and really get involved. This is a work we have to do together. And I think if we look at nature, nature never works by itself. Nature works in community, works in symbiosis, in mutualisms. So nature always works in community. And this is how we need to embrace the challenges we have in front. So thank you. Thank all of the participants. Thank you, Dominic, Jamie, Joaquin, Rafael, Sherry, Jose, and the whole team that has made this space possible. And thank you all for being here, and hopefully we can see you very soon and see in your networks, in your social spaces, a lot of conversation about greening school grounds and outdoor learning. Share the love, and let's work together to green education. Thank you very much.